A shocking turn of events. I went a little wild and I bought some books. Hi vlog. You want to go to look at the shelves and find a different book? Isn't she so cute? Look what was on my front porch. Here comes. Pretty sure that this vlog is cursed and I'm not sure if it's ever gonna end. Welcome back to the start of another reading vlog. Today is a very terrifying day for me, a hopefully exciting day for you, because I'm going to be starting my Can't Stop Until I Find a 5-Star Read vlog. Now, you've probably seen these going around BookTube, lots of people have done them. I didn't want to do just any old stop when you find a 5-star, so there is going to be a slight twist to this to make it more interesting for me, and maybe a little bit more interesting for you as well. And all of these books have to give me fall vibes, so I can't just pick any book. It has to be a book that gives me fall vibes for one reason or another. It doesn't have to be any like specific reason. It can be the cover, it can be the plot, it can be the genre, it can be somebody else told me it gave them fall vibes. Like, it doesn't really matter. It just has to give me fall vibes in one way or another. And I'll obviously let you guys know why it gave me fall vibes. So that's how I'm going to be picking my books. This is scary for me because you guys probably know that I don't give out a lot of 5 stars, and I'm working on that. I'm working on letting myself, not be too critical and love books, but at the same time, I do covet that 5-star rating and I want to give that out to the books that I really, really enjoy, so I'm a little bit stingy with them. That could mean this vlog could last a while. I'm actually filming this intro at the beginning of the vlog. Go me, I normally film them like later on in the video, so I have no idea how many books it's going to take me to get to the end of this rating vlog. Let me know down in the comments below your guess on how many books it's going to take me to get to a 5-star, because I'm a little bit scared of that number, not gonna lie to you guys. I don't think that there's really a whole lot else for me to say as far as intro wise, other than I guess let's just jump into reading, and fingers crossed that I actually do get to find a 5-star read and you guys will see this video, because I'm scared. So I got off work a little bit early this morning and I decided that that means that I need Starbucks. I deserve Starbucks. But I am currently listening to the book of Azriel. This is what I decided to start this vlog off with. This is by Amber V. Nicole. And honestly, like, I think that fantasy romance just gives me fall vibes in general. But when you add demons and gods, and even Kaylee said that this had a little bit of horror elements in it, Lexi was like, man, maybe I'll read that after she heard how it ended. And Lexi doesn't read romance and Lexi doesn't read fantasy. So I'm like, tell me more, tell me more. So I think that this is going to give me a really good fall vibes, but we have the fall vibes just like outside right now. It is gloomy. It is colder. It's like 68 degrees today. We've been hanging out at 90 for the last like 2 weeks. We have rain. It's just the gloom. I'm loving it. It is perfect fall weather, the perfect day to start this reading vlog. So I am going to listen to a little bit more of Book of Azriel on my way home. I'm getting coffee. It is a good day.
What can I get for you today?
Get a grande skinny caramel macchiato.
What else can I get for you?
That's it. Okay, so sorry for the car update times 2. Normally I try not to film in the car too much, but today is just one of those days where I'm getting to spend a lot of time in the car. I am at David's house waiting on him to get here. He has just dropped off his dogs for boarding because we are leaving today. So I have been listening to the Book of Azriel on my way down here. It takes me about an hour and a half to get to David's house. So I think I am roughly 20-ish% of the way through it so far. And from what I can gather, this is about a girl who made a deal with a demon essentially to save her and her sister's life, mostly her sister's life. And after she did that, she became like the super powerful being, but she has to be at the beck and call of the leader demon guy. Then we also have another guy named Liam, who is a celestial, and he is super old and super powerful, but is got PTSD from the war between the gods and the celestials many, many years ago, and so he's kind of living off the grid. And there is a Book of Azriel that everybody wants. That's the gist of what I've gotten so far. The writing in this is not bad. However, it is very repetitive. We are getting the same phrases and things over and over and over again, like in the same scenes, and that's driving me a little crazy. Also note that this is not one of those books that is going to give you information in a natural way. It is all exposition and it is all the characters just telling you what you need to know. And in some ways that can be okay. Like, info dumps are fine, but when you're writing in first person, you assume that whatever is coming out of the character's mouth or whatever is being narrated by the character is either something that they've said or something that they've thought. And a lot of these things are just there to give me information. It's not actually got anything to do with the character. And so I'm like, I wish we were getting this information in a little bit more natural way instead of just word vomit or info vomit at you, because it just feels like way too much exposition. And then you have all of this exposition combined with super like big action scenes, and so the pacing just feels really weird to me right now. And then I'm also having a little bit of an issue with the fact that it's just doing a lot. This book has got werewolves, it's got vampires, it's got demons, it's got gods, it's got celestials, it's got different worlds, it's got, you know, books, and it's doing a lot right now, and I need it to kind of hone in on whatever it's going to set up for the rest of the book. This thing is long, like we're talking a 30-hour audiobook, and I feel like a lot of this probably could have been cut out and get to the core of the story a little bit faster, and it wouldn't have needed to be so long, which is not, again, terribly uncommon when you're talking about a self-published fantasy romance, especially when on KU. The longer the better a lot of times. And so I just feel like there's a decent amount of filler in here, and it's hard for me to pinpoint what I'm going to need to know versus what is just in there. I don't know. I'm being super critical right now. I don't dislike it, but I'm not sure that I'm loving it either. Like I said, I'm only about 20%, so I'm definitely going to keep reading. We will see. But David is here, so I'm going to go. I just wanted to let you guys know that I have made a decision, a shocking turn of events that adds to the drama of this 5-star vlog, I think, that I am going to be putting down DNFing Book of Azrael. This one, I don't know that it's like a permanent DNF. I could be persuaded to go back and try it again, especially since I didn't cancel my bookish box in time. So I am going to be getting a special edition of it. And if it's gorgeous, I'm going to want to try again. But I think part of the problem was just the way that I was having to break it up. I was reading it on my way to Maine, and then we got home and I had other things that I was trying to pick up and trying to get done. And it was just being read in a very choppy way. And with all of the things that are going on in this book, that wasn't working for me at all. I still think that there was just way too many ideas, way too many things going on for me to really care and get invested in any one particular thing. And I also think that the way that this was written, it is not exactly, like, some of the transitions between who's speaking and what's going on are a little bit convoluted to me. And so occasionally I would be like, wait, who's talking and who is this person and how do they relate to everything? So I think that it just needed to be edited down a little bit more and like tightened up some. And I don't think that it's a bad book per se, but it's just, I wasn't having a good time. And so I asked Kaylee, I was like, okay, if I'm not loving it at 35%, which is about 200-ish pages, should I push through and continue? Because she loved it. And she was like, if you're not loving it at 35%, I would put it down, maybe come back to it later, because I don't think that it's going to change drastically enough for you to give it 5 stars or even, you know, a 4-star if you're not loving it now. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow Kelly's advice and I'm going to put it down, and we're going to move on to something different. So once I know what that is, I will let you guys know. But yeah, for now, I'm going to go do the weekend thing and I will chat with you guys later. So I think I've picked out my next book. I want to say that I'm going to go with Just Like Mother by Clay McLeod Chapman. This one is a little bit more domestic and gothic, I think. It says it's supernatural horror and domestic suspense. So once I'm a little bit further in, I'll give you guys a little bit of a better description of that. But it's not very long, and I do have the audiobook of it expiring in like 4 days, so I need to get on it. But I did a thing, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the thing. So Books A Million was having a sale, and it was buy 2, get 1 free, all of their Darcy coats, except for the signed one and the one that is just about to come out at the beginning of November. I went a little wild and I bought some books. Now I did buy 7 books, and the reason for this is one of them wasn't on the sale, but I wanted it, so I got it. The first 3 that I want to show you guys that I got are actually part of a series, and that is The Whispering Dead, The Ravenous Dead, and The Twisted Dead. I'm very excited to have these. I did not like this one, but then I read this one and gave it a 4-star. So I don't really know where I am with my life, but these are cozy mystery ghost hunter type of books. It reminds me a lot of The Ghost Whisperer with Jennifer Love Hewitt. It has that small town vibe. It has that she wants to help. The main character of these is younger than obviously she is, and so it's a little bit more quirky, I guess, but definitely reminds me of that show. So if you like it, maybe give those a try. And then I also decided to buy The Haunting of Gillespie House. This is another one of her haunted house ones about a woman that is going to spend a month minding the beautiful Gillespie property. But as she starts to explore the home, she finds a graveyard nestled in the woods, and it contains a generation of the house's old residents who all died in the same year. And then things start to go very, very wrong and very quickly. She realizes that one of the Gillespies is a tyrannical cult leader and the house's original owner. Yes, please. Thank you. Excited for that one. Then I also decided to get The House Next Door by Darcy Coates. This one is about a woman who starts to realize there's something wrong with the crumbling gothic monstrosity. When its family fled in the middle of the night, the children were screaming, the mother was crying, and they never came back. No family stays at that house for long. But then she realizes someone new has moved into the house next door, and it is slowly waking up. So she's torn between staying away and going and warning that couple about the dangers of living in that home. Then I bought one that I have already read, and that is The Carrow Haunt, but I wanted to own it because I did enjoy this one. This is also a haunted house story. And then the last one that I bought is The Haunting of Blackwood House. All of these are obviously haunted house stories. We have a theme going on here. But this one is about a daughter of spiritualist, and her childhood was full of seances and scam mediums. She's ready to start over and get away from all of the superstitions that she's never really believed in and always hated. But her past is not willing to let her go, and neither is Blackwood House. So this is my Darcy haul. I got quite a few things. I love the way that Darcy's books just fit so beautifully on the shelves together. I will show you guys what that looks like, but they're all the same height, and they're all like similar styles, and it's great. The only two that stick out, or I guess there will be three here pretty soon, are the white ones. And I'm like, why you gotta make them white? All of these spines are beautifully black. Why we gotta make a white spine? But they still they fit so well together, and so I'm excited to own more of them. This is still not all of them. She's got a massive backlist, but I am excited to own more of them. One day, who knows, maybe I will have the whole collection of Darcy Coates' backlist. But yeah, so I am going to listen to What Kind of Mother today. I will check in with you guys once I am a little ways in. I do have to drive about 45 minutes to an hour away, and I should be able to get a pretty good bit listened to on the way there and on the way back. So I think I will be able to check in with you guys in a little bit later today. Let's see if we can do this without the neighbor's dog barking. It is a different day. Yes, I am in the same shirt. This is my Book Babe, like, dancing, reading pumpkin shirt. I absolutely love it. It is clean, but don't judge me. So I wanted to tell you guys that I am about 40% into What Kind of Mother by Clay McLeod Chapman, and I'm enjoying this one, but it's really weird. It's about a woman who is a teenage mom, and her daughter has decided that she wants to go live with her dad, and so she has gone back to her hometown and is now a palm reader, and it's just something that she's doing to make money. And she runs into her old flame and realizes that he was married and his son went missing and his wife killed herself, and everyone assumes that the mother did something to his son, but he is convinced that his son is still alive, and he wants her help to, as a palm reader, as a psychic, to help to try to find his son. This book, I don't really fully understand what's going on. We're having some moments where she's like getting these flashbacks of things, but they're very strange, and I don't know that I fully wrap my head around it. It seems like she's getting flashes of what would be Skylar, but I'm not really sure. They're very weird. There's crabs in here. I don't know. I'm still going, still chugging along. We have had a point of view switch, which I was not aware that this was a multi-point of view book. And now we're following the dad. This is where I've heard that it does get a lot more domestic, and I hope that it stays weird without being too weird and like keeps the horror elements coming, because if it gets too domestic, then I'm going to struggle a little bit. But it's not very long, and like I said, if I'm already, I'm already about here, so I'm hopeful that it will be like, it'll keep my attention. We'll see. Yeah, I just wanted to check in with you guys because I was a little bit further into this. I don't have a lot of opinions on it so far, other than it's strange and I'm trying to like get my bearings, but it is well written. The Southern in here, people were wondering was going to bother me because, as you guys know, I am from the South, but it's not bothering me. They talk like my grandmother talks, not necessarily how people that I'm around talk with the hun and all of that stuff, but that could just be because I live in a more like urban part of the South, whereas where I grew up, yes, a lot more of this particular type of Southern slang or Southern speech, I guess. The accent of the narrator is fine. It's not overdone. It's not too far over the top. So I am liking it so far. I'm pleasantly intrigued. Will this be a 5-star? Am I predicting this to end the vlog on book 2? Probably not, just because I'm not like fully invested. I'm curious. I want to know what's going on and I'm enjoying it, but I'm not just like in it like I was with Ghost Eaters. It's good. It's just not like a new favorite, I don't think. But anyway, I'm going to enjoy this weather. It is 75 degrees out here and it is just absolutely gorgeous. Let me show you Ollie right now because he is, as the Southerns say, happy as a pig in mud. So Ollie is just like living his absolute best life right now. Ozzy, say hi vlog. Hi vlog. But yeah, I am going to go in. It is Saturday, watch some more football, and I will chat with you guys in a bit. It is the next day. I made an oops, and after David picked what I was going to be reading next, I immediately went and took a shower, got kind of sidetracked, and did not give you guys my final updates on What Kind of Mother. I did finish this last night, and I wanted it to be a 5-star. You guys know that I loved Ghost Eaters. I thought it was incredible. I didn't love, where was the other one? Whisper Down the Lane. I actually didn't finish that one. And so I was really hopeful for this one. And unfortunately, it's gonna get, I think, a 2-star from me. I liked the beginning. I was intrigued, a little bit confused. I was okay when we got to the little more domestic side of things. But then things just kind of took a turn and there was a twist, but the twist just, it wasn't well fleshed out. It could have been a really good twist had it been, I don't know, I hate to say done differently, but unfortunately I feel like it could have been a good twist if done differently. There just wasn't enough setup. It felt like he was trying so hard to make things weird that all of the like nuances fell away and it was just like, how many weird things can I throw in here, even if they did not make any sense at all. And it was a little more domestic toward the second half. We started talking about like mommy and daddy and relationships, and that combined with the lack of logic weird just really lost me in the second half, unfortunately. So not a favorite of mine, which is big sad because I wanted to love this after loving Ghost Eaters. I assumed that Whisper Down the Lane was like one of the earlier books and then he really found his stride in Ghost Eaters, but a sad. And he's like one of the funniest people on Instagram to follow, so I wanted to love this. Will I probably read another one of his? Yes, but I'm sad that I didn't love it. And then last night, I asked David to pick a book for me. He had the option between Blood Solace and We Ride the Storm, but obviously that did not go as planned. So I will insert here the clip of him choosing a book for me, and then we'll check back a little bit later. Okay, so now that I am done with Just Like Mother, I need to pick my next book for the reading vlog, but I will be honest, picking a book that you think is gonna be 5 stars is one of the hardest things ever, and deciding what to read next. Not a lot of fun. So I'm gonna make him do it for me. I'm gonna give him 2 options. The first one is Blood Solace by Bella Roth. This is the sequel to Blood Mercy. Blood Mercy, I think I gave a high 4-star. Okay, so let me tell you what this vlog is. I can't stop until I find a 5-star fall vibes only. So it has to give fall vibes, but it doesn't have to be like a horror book.
It looks like winter. You got Northern Lights.
It's not Northern Lights, it's vampires. Vampires.
Northern Lights. You can't see this in the sky. Those are clear Northern Lights.
Okay, well, I don't think they're intended to be Northern Lights.
I think they are. I think they're Northern Lights.
You want to go to look at the shelves and find a different book?
It also looks like you got like a winter queen back here with the staff.
Okay, well, go look at the shelves and find a different book. This had vampires, so I just thought maybe fall.
What was that one? You didn't give me that one.
Well, yeah, but you needed 2 options. You shot down one of my options. Let's see if he picks anything else interesting.
These Jim Butcher books.
I've read all of those, but I could read the sequel to that.
His hat looks kind of fallish.
So he is a wizard that helps solve crime.
He's a wizard. He ought to be able to solve crime like that.
Well, he does, but it always ends up being something more than he bit off to chew.
It'll be something just like comes to him, like he automatically knows.
I don't think it works that way.
Just solve it. Bam! Over. So Stephen King writes a lot of fall stuff.
No, that one's part of a series. You can only pick book 2 of that one.
Only book 2? That's very
well,
restrictive.
I've only read book 1, so unless you want me to skip...
You have to do the drawing of the 3?
I would have to do the drawing of the 3. You hate me so much.
I feel like the wind through the keyhole sounds very fallish, though.
Yeah, well, you can't do that one.
Yeah, too many rules. What lies between us?
I have not read that one. You know that I have to continue reading for this vlog until I find a 5-star.
Medicine, Money, and Murder in 1847.
He hates me. He hates me. Theoretically, most of these I will have read, but you know, I'm me, so there's probably halvesies.
What are those in there for? Why do you have a cat dressed in a suit?
That was a sci-fi.
You need to quit reading stuff when it's not fall. Guide to Slaying
I've
Vampires.
also read that one.
You need to start dividing these up into ones you've read and you haven't read.
You know you have to pick one of all the crap you have
Monster
stacked in your
Island?
hands. I have not read Monster Island. That one's about zombies. No, you have to read the synopsis and actually pick one. Oh.
Chloe Davis was 12. 6 teenage girls went missing in small Louisiana. I might read it.
We could Betty read it. Well, let me tell you what that one's about, because I don't want you to read it because it might spoil people. Basically, this girl goes to a town and she doesn't have any memory of who she is or where she came from, but realizes she can see ghosts and has to help the ghost be laid to rest. So think Ghost Whisperer. That's very Ghost Whisperer.
The world has fallen into shambling zombie masses. Only a few pockets of humanity survive. Hunger for all things living from the other side of the planet. Man, that sounds that great. Why is she in a chain?
This was the one that I picked because the cover gave me fall vibes, but the synopsis is not going to give me fall vibes. You're narrowing. Why are you turning around backwards? That's scary.
I don't want you to look at me and doing stuff.
It's terrifying. I want to know what's going on. Flicker in the Dark?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I have an audiobook of that. You want to buddy read it with me? You said you might read that. Maybe. Okay, so he picked one of my old Book of the Month books, A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This is one that I've actually wanted to read for a while. I've heard it's really good. It is actually kind of a TBR vet now that I think about it, so interesting choice. Will this be 5 stars? I don't know, but at least hopefully you were entertained trying to figure out what I was going to read next. My plan was to just give him 2 books and make him pick between the 2 books, and then he completely derailed the plans. To me, they gave me fall vibes, so hopefully I'll get to sneak one of them in at some point.
This one should be next.
That one?
Yeah, that was my number 2 pick.
That was your number 2 pick? Okay. Well, John Mars might end up on this list somewhere, just to appease him since he didn't get to spin the wheel.
Because I hate people who put the description on the internet. She's lucky I picked her.
It's a hardback! Okay. I'm going to go find my audiobook for this and see if I can talk him into buddy reading it with me, because that sounds entertaining. So it's quite a bit later, and I have actually read the entirety of A Flicker in the Dark today. It's such an easy, listen, and it really isn't that long, so I just kind of flew through it. This is following Chloe, and she is a now psychologist in the state of Louisiana, and she's kind of working through her own stuff from when she was a kid, because her father is a convicted serial killer, and he was convicted when she was at the age of 12. She's really just trying to go through life, figure out how to get past this, even though it's been 20 years. She's still having a lot of trouble with sleeping and anxiety. She's finally found a good fiance, and she thinks life is gonna start settling down. Things are looking up, and then another girl goes missing in a very eerily similar way to the way that her father had kidnapped and killed girls 20 years ago. So I'm glad that I finally read this. I've had it from Book of the Month since 2021 when it came out, and it's just kind of been sitting around. Lots of people have loved this book, have thought it was great, highly recommended it, so I am glad that I finally got around to it. I think this one's probably gonna get a 3-star from me. It was well plotted, and I think it was extremely well written. However, it did drag a little bit for me, especially in the beginning. It was just very domestic, very what is Chloe doing? How is she getting through life? And it was much more focused on her past and her dealing with her past than it was an actual serial killer copycat thing in the present. And it took us till about halfway to get there, and I really wish that that had been a little bit more of the story, because that's the expectations that I had, and maybe that's my own fault, but that's the expectations that I had based off of the synopsis going in. And it was there, it just took a little while to get there. This story, I think the biggest thing that's going to cause me to give this a 3-star instead of like a 4 or 4.5 star is just that this is a very predictable story. It's one that I've read before, nothing shocked me, I was not overly surprised, the red herrings were glaringly obvious. So while it was well plotted, it was a little too predictable, but I'm always one of those people that would rather it be a little predictable and it makes sense than to throw something at the end of the book and it make no sense and everything else was just a red herring to shock the reader. I don't love those. I think the bigger issue for me wasn't that it was predictable, but it's just a story that I have read or seen 100 times before. It did feel very cliche, and Chloe had a bad upbringing and she's still dealing with her own stuff, so she decides to become a psychologist and psychoanalyze everyone, and then she needs to deal with her issues through benzos and, you know, controlled substances, and it felt very stereotypical, and I did not love that part about this book. Ironically enough, David did pick this because he felt like neither of my choices were fall enough, but this is set in the summer. So anyway, I think this one's gonna be a 3-star. That is book 3 for this vlog down. So I guess we need to pick another read. And I think that I am going to ignore everything that David said and do We Ride the Storm by Devin Manson. This one I read the first chapter of for my try chapter, my fantasy books video. And I really enjoyed the first chapter of this. Is this book set in fall? Probably not. It's a fantasy book. They don't really have seasons. However, just the kind of vibes of the cover really gives me fall vibes, and that's all we really need is the vibes. And so for me, the red colors, the like cloud coverage, I can walk outside on any given morning right now that it's fall and you can just kind of see that gloomy cloud cover. It's We Ride the Storm. We have lots of storms in the fall. Maybe I'm justifying, but those are my reasons. And so I'm going to be picking up this one next. It's not a super short read, so it may take me a little bit longer. It's like 470-ish pages, but I'm excited to read this. It's been on my want to read for a while. It was gifted to me by Maria, and I have very high hopes for this series. We've got about 20 minutes left of sprint, so I'm going to go find the audiobook for this one. I wanted to check in because I am about 40-ish% into We Ride the Storm. I really hope the last 10 or 15% I have fully been paying attention enough to gather the information, because I'll be honest, I left work a little bit early today. I just don't feel great, and I think I just probably ate something kind of funny, like my heartburn's cranky and all sorts of stuff, and I just don't feel good. But it also doesn't feel like sick or anything like that. So anyway, I've been listening to We Ride the Storm. I'm about 40-ish%, and this is following 3 different main perspectives. One is Miko, and she is the illegitimate daughter of the Emperor, and she and her twin brother are kind of on pins and needles trying to wait out the Emperor deciding which one of them is going to be his heir. And their entire life hangs in the balance of whether or not he chooses her, he chooses the twin brother to be heir of the land. But unfortunately, neither one of them are his legitimate children, and so he's been trying to get them assassinated and things like that, on the hush hush, because no one knows that they are his children. Then we have a Cassandra, who is an assassin prostitute, and she has gotten a new job to infiltrate this guy's party and become one of his trusted maidservants and then kill him. But she's also approached by another man who she doesn't know who it is and told to kill one of the servants as well. And then you find out that she is actually able to sense when there are corpses around and has someone hanging out in her head. So this actually ended up being way more fall vibes than I even thought it would be, because we have corpse magic. And then we also have, I think it's Ra? Yeah, Ra, R-A-H. And he's this captain of these warriors, and it's warriors who ride stallions, and that is their prized part of their culture. Is you're not a man until you have a horse, and then your horse is yours until your soul is given into the afterlife. And this is on the border between the nations. They're exiles and they get brought in to fight on this foreign war. So far it's been really interesting. I definitely was more engaged in the beginning portion than toward the middle. The middle did start to lag a little bit for me as we continued with a lot of the setup and the politics and the backstory. This is going to be one of those stories, I think, where we do have to give a pretty decent bit of background. And at the moment, I'm wanting just a little bit more from the world building and the culture, because I think that it's really, really cool. And so I just want a little bit more in-depth explanation and showing me the world and showing me these cultures, because we talk about them and we have moments where, again, hearing about how their horses are theirs until they're given into the afterlife. Those moments are really, really cool, and I just want a little bit more of them. I'm very interested to find out more about Cassandra's magic and who this girl is that is talking to her and what that is all about. I'm enjoying it so far. I think that it's good. It definitely doesn't shy away from brutal moments, which I also do appreciate, especially in a fantasy book. So I'm having a good time and I'm excited to keep reading it. I don't know that I'm going to finish it today or tomorrow, because like I said, I'm about here-ish, but I am excited to continue. I will say that the audiobook is also really, really good for this one, because it is full cast. So each different perspective has its own dedicated narrator, which I think is really important in a story like this, to keep all of the perspectives clear in who's talking and to help give them their own voice. So I think that that is extremely well done. I'm excited to continue reading this. And like I said, not only does the cover and the title give fall vibes, but now the magic system gives fall vibes. So I think I should give myself a high five for matching the fall vibes without even meaning to. Don't mind my TV on the floor. That is for when David wants to watch 50 football games on the weekends. But look at this kitty. Rennie. Isn't she so cute? I am currently on sprints and working on my genre blanket. I think it's coming along pretty good so far. But while I was doing that, I did finish up We Ride the Storm, and I wanted to talk to you guys about this really quickly. No, this is actually a female author, which I was not aware of when I started reading it, and A+ for female authors. And then this was also an indie fantasy that was picked up by Orbit. I think it was an SPFBO at one point, and it was picked up by Orbit and given a little bit of an overhaul. I know she added a few chapters, changed up some of the politics, that kind of stuff. I liked this book. There are 3 different points of view, and each different point of view I think did a good job on focusing on different things. Miko's point of view definitely is where you got a lot of like the politics and the war. Ra's point of view definitely had an insight into culture and war, and then Cassandra's point of view was definitely more on the like magic and that kind of thing. I think that I liked that separation, and I also liked it when their stories started to come together a bit more. I liked the politics. I thought that those were well done, and I appreciated that it wasn't just talk about it kind of politics. You guys know that I am not a big fan of when books just give you political situations and they're scheming, but then you don't see any movement from the scheming. I prefer when there's actual like movement and consequences to the political decisions being made. So I liked that. I liked the cultural aspects. We've already talked about that. I think in the end, this book did a lot of things well, but it just never really hit super home for me. I never got fully invested in the characters and felt like I knew them and would die for them. I never really felt like the politics were I was never invested enough in that to care when the big battle came around. And Ra's point of view, I think had the hardest time connecting with, even though I really appreciated the cultural insights. I think for me and Cassandra's point of view, I did want a little bit more explanation to the magic. I felt like they talk about her being able to like hear the singing of someone dying, and she needs to get in touch with a witch doctor, and she has someone that's kind of hanging out in her body. We never got a lot of answers as far as that goes. We didn't learn why or how or what the consequences were to her being able to hear the dead or hear the dead when they died. She can't even really hear the dead. And there wasn't enough like expansion on the magic, enough explanation as to why this other person was there and how they were able to do what they were doing. I'm assuming that's going to come in later books, but unfortunately in this one it just felt like a unfleshed out magic system to me, especially when it was literally only in one point of view and then we didn't have it in any other of the points of view. So while I liked this and I would consider continuing on with the series, I do think that I wanted just a little bit more depth from it overall. So I think this one is going to get a 3-star from me. I liked it a lot, but again, just need a little bit more from it. So then moving on next, I'm going to be starting The Haunting of Lee Harker by Darcy Coates. I couldn't go through this vlog without reading a Darcy Coates. I'm actually going to be buddy reading this with Cassidy, Kaylee, and Lexi, so we've got pages sectioned out, and I am excited to read this one. I've heard it's super creepy. It's been on my TBR for a while, and it's about Lee Harker, who has lived in this suburban home for 15 years, and then one day she wakes up and there is an intruder in her home, and she never really gets a good glimpse of him. The cops come and they can't find anything, and she's like trying to deal with this shadow, this intruder that's in her home. Sounds creepy. Curious to see how this is different from all of the other like haunted house type stories, and I'm excited to read it. This is what is up next, and I will let you guys know once I've started it what I think. I've read 3 pages, and what? It is so freaking creepy so far. Like literally it says, like the first line is just something that lingers outside my room, and she's describing this thing, and it is so creepy. So, yeah, already on page 2, like, I'm creeped out, and this is great. So, I'll officially introduce this book when I'm more than, like, 3 pages into it, but what? I've gotten to halfway of Lee Harker, and I'm liking this one. When I first started it, so I'm buddy reading this with Cassidy, Kaylee, and Lexi, and we sectioned it off so that we could all kind of stay on track. Lexi said that was the only way she was going to do a buddy read. We got to chapter 7, I think the first day, and when I was getting up to chapter 7, like I was enjoying it a lot. That first chapter was amazing, and we had the same similar vibes going through about chapter 7, 8 or so, where she was just kind of milling around doing the same things, saying the same things. And so I was getting a little bit, I won't say bored, but like bogged down in the same creepy type scenes happening over and over and over again. I needed there to be a little bit of something to like break that up a little bit. Even though it was really creepy and I was enjoying it a lot, I needed just like a coworker to stop by and knock on the door, or to see her go to work one day, rather than it all being isolated in the house. But at the same time, it was creepy. So then we got to the second section, and there is a twist that happens that I will admit got me. usually I can predict books and usually it's completely fine, but this one got me. And I really, really liked it. I thought that it was unique. It was different from things that Darcy Coates usually does. I can't tell you what this book is truly about without spoiling that twist. And while, I mean, it's not a huge deal if you know what the twist is, I think that it's fun not to know. So I'm not gonna say anything. I do wish we had a few more of those creepy moments back, and I think that they're coming because we kind of switched in completely the opposite direction a little bit. I don't know if I'll get a ton more reading done today. Maybe I will try to get ahead a little bit because it's gonna be harder for me to read like Sunday and Monday, so we'll see. I don't know. I am going to put that down, and once we're to the end and we've kind of all chatted about it and I know how I feel, I will come back, let you guys know my final rating. It doesn't really feel like a 5-star right now. We'll see. I have an update for The Haunting of Lee Harker. I have now finished this, and unfortunately, I know I was like, yeah, I'm liking it pretty well in the previous clip, but unfortunately, the more that I think about it and after finishing this was not one of my favorite Darcys. Usually Darcy's like a slam dunk because she does atmosphere so well that I'm like pretty guaranteed to give it a 4-star. But unfortunately for this one, I was just really bored. It felt repetitive in a lot of ways. Like the beginning was repetitive, but it was good and it was creepy, and then we had this twist, and then I was interested for a little while because of the twist, but then it just got boring and repetitive again. And so that's kind of disappointing. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about this other than it was not really engaging. There were a couple of logic plot device kind of things that I didn't absolutely love and thought that they didn't make a whole lot of sense. The characters were fine, but it never hooked me and never really got super engaged with anything. So unfortunately, this one is like a low 3-star, I think. It was fine, but it just wasn't anything exciting. Probably one of my least favorite Darcy, maybe my second least favorite Darcy, a little bit better than like Craven Manor. I wasn't a fan of Craven Manor. I wanted to show you guys because I got some Book Babe Designs stuff in the mail. She just had like a print launch, and there were a bunch of things on like super sales. She had a lot of bookmarks that were $3 and $4 a piece, and if you bought 2 or 3 sets, then you got a set free or something like that. So I bought a few things that I wanted to show you guys. Firstly, she has this little postcard in here that just says Book Babe, and it says thank you on it, which I always think is really sweet. And then we have the packet of seasonal bookmarks, which I like. These, they have a border around them. I'm not a huge fan of the border, but either way, I still do like them. This one is the fall one, and these are double-sided. This one is summer, I think. Then we have spring. And last but not least, the winter one. So I really like these. I think those are super cute. But some of the ones that I was so excited about, not gonna lie, I am so excited about this one. It matches my t-shirt that I love so much, and I think it's absolutely adorable. And then I also grabbed this like pumpkin ghost one. Then one of her foiled bookmarks. I really just wanted to be nosy and see what these looked like because I do foiled bookmarks for my top tier Patreon, and I wanted to see how she did hers, and I really like them. This is like a super good foil. It's gold and it's like a thick foil, super thick bookmark. I like this a lot. I am a fan of that. And then she put like some freebies and stuff in here. I don't remember which ones of these I actually purchased. This one says a reader lives 1,000 lives. It's just another, it's not foiled, but it is kind of shiny. And then I think this one may have been, I don't know if this one was a freebie or not, but this one matches my mug that I like so much. It's got the rounded corners. This one I know was a freebie because she just said she would throw whichever colorway she had in there. And it's like this little ghost reading on a swing, and then the back is this color. And then this was also a freebie, which is the ghost pumpkin head sticker, and I think that he's absolutely adorable as well. So I got a little haul of bookmarks, which I am quite happy with. I am excited to use these. They'll go in my little bucket of bookmarks, and I don't know where I'm gonna stick him. I'm never very good at knowing where to put stickers. Like, I love her little designs, but I never know where to put the stickers. I don't really put them on my Kindle. I don't have a water bottle to put them on, and I'm not a big fan of like putting them on electronics and things like that. So if you have a suggestion that's not just like sticking it on a water bottle or an electronic, let me know. These are my haul. I think that's everything. I don't really have anything else going on. I do need to pick my next read. We'll see what that ends up being. I figured we would chat while I was getting ready because I have picked and started my next book for this vlog, and that is The Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi is who it's by. This is one that I have heard is very, very, very scary. And so that's the reason that I wanted to pick this one up, is because not very many horror books actually manage to scare me. I can have things that definitely creep me out, but I wouldn't say that things typically quote unquote scare me. And so I was very curious as to what a book that would scare me looks like. So this is about a boys' orphanage slash monastery, and basically these orphans are being housed by the church, and this church is not exactly the friendliest to the boys. It is definitely very strict. If they misbehave, they don't get to eat. If they don't do what they're supposed to do, then they even could end up in a hole dug in the ground and like buried overnight. And so it's definitely not a great place to be. And then we have a more present point of view where one of the priests gets brought a man, and they say that he was like participating in this ritual sacrifice, and they are hoping that he will help to save him because they shot him when they realized that he was participating in this ritual sacrifice. Then we also have other priests and points of view, and you find out that something has happened and one of them seems to be possessed. This is definitely inspired by Lord of the Flies. I can absolutely see that comparison and that inspiration for sure. So far, I'm not, like, it's got its scary moments and it's got its things that definitely are very creepy, but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily scaring me. It's creepy, sure, but it's not scaring me, and I don't know if that's a me thing or a book thing. I do feel like this book, while the prose is really good, I'm not loving the way that it's switching back and forth between perspectives because it's not very clear. Like, it doesn't give you, this is the past, this is the present, this is who's speaking, this is not. And we have like third person omniscient combined with first person for different parts of it, and I'm just not loving the way that that's told. Unfortunately, because of that, I just don't really care about our characters very much, and that's challenging because you need to care about the characters in order for this to really impact the way that I think it was supposed to. So right now, it's good, it's fine, but it's not, I don't think, going to be a 5-star. Shocking. I am starting to wonder if I'm ever gonna find a 5-star for this vlog, because I think this is book 7 and we're still just chugging along in the 3-star range. I even want just like a 4-star. A 4-star would be great, and then maybe I would have some hope, but right now we're just chugging along in our 3-star world, which I don't know why I'm surprised by that, because that's where I live, is in the 3-star world. Anyway, other than that, yesterday I didn't check in with you guys because I was out with Mom. I went over to her house because my grandmother was coming to help unload or load up a few things from their basement, and it was my grandmother's birthday, so I wanted to go like say hey to her. Hung out at Mom's house for a little while, got to see Loki and their cat Callie, who is absolutely adorable. And then Mom and I went from there to try Dutch Brothers coffee, which I have never had before. We've got a couple of them popping up in our area, and I really wanted to try one, so I went and got something called a white zombie because that just felt very appropriate for fall and Halloween vibes, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, that is my update for you guys. Once I've finished Boys in the Valley, I'll let you know, but for right now, feeling kind of like a 3-star. Okay, so I was leaving my house and look what was on my front porch when I left, and honestly, you guys, I literally could not wait to open this. I have seen some spoilers for this, and so I had to get it open right now. This is the Evernight box for October. It is the horror subscription box that Illumicrate does, and I'll be honest, the last one, like, I liked it, but it was just okay as far as the book goes. But this one, you guys, I've heard such good things. So let's open it up. I do know what book this is already. This is the spoiler card for it. If you guys don't want to know what it is, I will give you a timestamp to skip forward to. But it is the new Caitlin Sterling. She's the one that did The Death of Jane Lawrence and The Luminous Dead, which I didn't read Death of Jane Lawrence, and I did not love The Luminous Dead. However, I liked the writing, so I'm excited to read more from her. And if this cover is any indication, it's gonna be creepy as crap. So I just want you guys to look at this. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so good. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my gosh. That's the back. Like, it is so pretty. Look at the edges of this. Oh my gosh. I can't get over it. I can't. So this is the original cover here. This one is so much better. We do have a book plate, which is not my favorite, and my camera's about to die, so I'm gonna make it fast. But this is the like dust jacket, or the under the cover, and then the end pages look like this. I love it. I'm so excited. Okay, my camera battery is dying, so I'm gonna go, but this may end up having to be in the vlog because, like, look at this cover. Good morning to all of my Barbie fans out there. It is Barbie. This is my work outfit for today. We are dressing up as a Barbie theme on our like hallway, and I thought this one looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty good. I'm not too bad. I don't love the cardigan, but with work, not really a spaghetti strap kind of place. So anyway, I'm gonna go to work. I will catch you guys later, but thought that I would introduce you to Barbie while I was at it. Obviously, it's Halloween. If you guys haven't figured that out yet, it's Halloween. You're not even there. Here he comes. Here he comes. Just scarfed down so much McDonald's, and I've done some reading, so I wanted to come and update you guys while I was at lunch. I love McDonald's. I shouldn't eat it. It's not good for you, but it's been a week. It's been a week, and so I decided I deserved some McDonald's fries and one of their glorious Diet Cokes. But that's not what you're here to talk about. You're here to talk about books. I wanted to let you guys know that I have finished Boys in the Valley, and this one's kind of hard for me to rate because I think that it did what it was trying to do very, very well. But unfortunately, I never really felt like drawn in and completely obsessed with it like I was hoping to. A lot of people said that it was super scary and did the creep factor amazingly, and they just loved it, and it was super well written. And I don't know that I completely agree with all of that. I will agree with the creepy. I do think that it was creepy. I do think that the possessed kids running around in this monastery was a cool idea, and I think that it was well done in that regard. But possession stories in the way that this one was done didn't scare me like I was expecting. Like, I heard it was scary, so I don't think that it was scary per se. Unsettling, maybe. I think that I wanted to be a little bit more on the edge of my seat than I actually was, because crap was happening, people were dying, and there was stakes to things, but for some reason I just never felt significant tension. However, I will say that the gory, creepy horror scenes were written really well. I will give it that for sure. I do think that those were well written. I think if you like this type of possession story, the Lord of the Flies like trope, then this is really, really going to work for you. I think I'd already mentioned that I did not love the way that the points of view was changing because I found it to be very unclear. We would switch from a first person to a different first person to a third person, and it never told me, okay, well, we're switching points of view. It didn't ever say Johnson or Peter or Andrew, and you just had to wait until the character said someone else's name to try to infer who was actually speaking. And I didn't love that. I found like it kind of took me out of the story while I was waiting to understand who was speaking again. And it's not that it was hard to follow, it was just really aggravating from my perspective. So I think this one's gonna get a 3-star. It was generally fine, but it just didn't do exactly what I was hoping that it would do for me. I do recommend it. Like I said, if you're looking for a possession story or you like that Lord of the Flies vibe, then definitely give this one a go, but it wasn't my absolute favorite. With that being said, I think that calling this a I can't stop until I find a 5-star literally cursed this vlog, because I have had a 2-star, a DNF, and like how many 3-stars now? So I'm pretty sure that this vlog is cursed, and I'm not sure if it's ever going to end. We'll see if it ever ends. I don't know. Maybe. Next up, I think I'm going to be doing One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. This is about rival witch gangs or mobs in New York City, and it is a Romeo and Juliet inspired story, and I've heard good things about it. I liked the Atlas 6, did not love the Atlas Paradox, but I wanted to try another Olivia Blake. I think it was maybe Erin that said that she liked this one a lot, so it was between this and Masters of Death, but I decided to go with One for My Enemy. So far, I'm about 30-ish% of the way through it, and there are some things that I am loving about this book, and then there are some things that are boring me to tears. We have one witch family that is a matriarch. There are like 7 daughters, and they make witch drugs, and we're following Masha, who is like the right arm of Baba Yaga, or the head of the witch clan, and then we have Sasha, who is just working at the store trying to go to school and just find a degree in a life for herself. And then we have the other family who is more of the guys, and it's a patriarch. There are 3 sons and the father. They were gypped essentially by Baba Yaga and her family. There's a lot more to it than that, but I don't want to spoil it. And we go on this like revenge plot thing where they're battling against one another and moving chess pieces and stuff. And that part I am really enjoying about this. There was a scene at the very beginning with Masha and Dimitri that was, ooh, you went there, and it was really good. And there are moments of like political maneuvering that I think are really good, and familial maneuvering and cutthroatness, and I'm enjoying that. But I'm also a little bit bored by some of the way that the backstory is being given to me and just the day-to-day type stuff. We also have Sasha and Lev, who are I think going to be our Romeo and Juliet, and unfortunately it is almost taking that too literally for me. Romance is at the forefront of a lot of this book, and it's not that that's a bad thing. I just really want to know about mobster witches, and I'm finding that part to be much more intriguing than the romance side of things, and I was hoping that we would lean into that and the magic and the political side of it rather than the romance side of it, and not take Romeo and Juliet quite so literally. And unfortunately it is a pretty literal retelling currently of Romeo and Juliet. I will say that I like Sasha and Lev's banter. I think that they have really good banter with one another, but other than the occasional banter, I just don't really care. But like I said, I'm only 30% in, so hopefully that will start to pick up, because there are some really good moments and some really boring moments. But I think that is about everything for now. I am about to have to head back into work. I'm on my lunch break currently, and I don't want to, but I need to. So maybe I can get a little bit more reading done. We shall see. It has been a very long day full of lots of travel, but I am finally finished with my 8th book, I think, of this vlog. Goodness gracious, this thing's never gonna end. Which is One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to rate this. It's not gonna be a 5-star, I can tell you that much. It'll probably be somewhere around a lower 3. I was enjoying it quite a bit when I like first started reading it. There were moments that I didn't love, but the good was outweighing the bad. And then we got around the 40-ish% mark and was really intrigued for about 10 or 15%, and things just then went really far downhill for me. And I lost all of my like intrigue to it. I think that this one is extremely well written, and I do think that the super literal Romeo and Juliet type of story did start to dissipate toward the latter half of the story, which was one of my primary complaints about the beginning of the book. I just wanted there to be more stakes and really feel that like New York vibes and New York mobsters, and there be witches, and like really wanted the atmosphere to like get me. And Olivia Blake I feel like usually does really good atmosphere, and I just wasn't really feeling that. I never really got the sense of New York at all. They talk about the boroughs, and that's the only thing that I felt like was New Yorky. And then the magic side, the witches side of things, it's sprinkled in and out, and there's one thing that is very magical, but other than that, they could have been anybody. And then the stakes just, yeah, people were dying or whatnot and things like that that should have been really high stakes, but because of the circumstances surrounding everything, it just never really felt like they were that much at each other's throats, or at least there wasn't, well, it didn't feel like there was enough of a reason for them to be at each other's throats. You find out what is the reason why they're at odds to begin with, and it is so petty. And I'm like, they shouldn't hate each other that much, and like all the families shouldn't hate each other because of this reason. It's dumb. And then the reasons that they're at each other is because of another petty consequence. And I don't know. I think that it was intended to be a very tragedy and dramatic, and that's what she was going for, and it was accomplished in here. I think that, again, this is well written. I just wanted something, I think, very different from it than what it was actually giving me. This is a Shakespearean tragedy type of story, whereas I wanted mobster witches in New York. And that's not, I think, what she was going for, and that's definitely not what I got. The romance did filter off a little bit in the second half. I did like the characters, but I found that a lot of the backstories and things were crammed in flashbacks toward the end of the book, and by the time we got to those, not only did I not care, because especially they were about characters half the time that weren't even that prominent in the story, but also I'd already been told that. I didn't need this 30-minute chapter flashback with them basically just talking at one another. And that was another problem. They talked at each other a lot, where things were being talked about happening, but then nothing was actually happening. The more I talk about this book, the more it feels like a 2-star, which really hurts my soul, honestly, because I think that it did some things very well. And while I was listening to it, it didn't necessarily feel like a 2-star to me, but the more I talk about it, the more annoyed I get by it. There's also a, not trope, but plot device that happens in here that I really don't like. And I'm not gonna tell you what it is, because because it is a spoiler. I don't like it. I feel like it makes things no longer matter that should have mattered. We'll just leave it at that. Anyway, I'm finished with this one. I think what I'm going to read next is Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence. This is the third and final book in the Book of the Ancestor trilogy. I have given the first 2 books in the series on reread 5 stars. However, I have not read this final one, and I have heard that it's people's least favorite out of the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, and I will tell you more about what the Book of the Ancestor is about, but we'll do that once I've started reading it. I do have to read this for the Backlist Book Club anyway. The live show is this coming weekend as I'm filming this. I don't know when you guys are seeing it, but as I'm filming this. And again, I think this is gonna be one that I'm really gonna enjoy. Has the potential to be a 5-star, but if nothing else, I don't think it's gonna be a 2-star. I think it's something that I'm really gonna enjoy, and I need one of those right now. And then if that's not a 5-star, we'll bring out the like Hail Mary and we'll talk about that once we get to it. But yeah, I'm gonna read some of Holy Sister, and then we will chat once I kind of get a feel for it, and we'll go over what Book of the Ancestor is actually about. I just wanted to check in because I am now about 30-ish% into Holy Sister. I have not read this one before. This is the only book out of the trilogy that I had not read before doing it for Cassidy's Backlist Book Club. And this is following a Nona. She is caught up after kind of sort of accidentally trying to kill someone very important, and she gets taken by a child kidnapper and is being hunted by this important person. When she is found by Abbess Glass, who is the like leader abbess of the Covenant of Sweet Mercy, and she takes Nona in and trains her to be an assassin nun. And these assassin nuns in this world is like being taken over by the ice. The moon is falling and their lush green is starting to slowly go away. There are different bloodlines, 4 different bloodlines, and each different bloodline has its own sort of power or affinity. You can have more than one bloodline within you, and being like a pure of this bloodline just basically means that you have the full power of it. I really loved the first 2 books in this series. They were both 5 stars on reread. I have heard that this one is people's least favorite in the trilogy. Most people give this one at least a star rating below what they gave the previous 2, but I'm still hopeful that I'm going to really enjoy it. So far at 30%, I'm liking it a lot. I do feel like it is almost too fast paced, whereas I almost had the opposite complaint of the first couple. It took longer than I felt like it really needed to get moving. This one hits the ground running, starts right off where the previous book left off in one timeline, and then we also have a present day, which is 3 years in the future. And I do think it hits the ground running, and I really liked that. I like that it's a little bit faster paced, but I do feel like it is glossing over some important moments. And so I'm hoping that we either circle back around to that or slow down just a little bit to give me some more depth into this final book in the trilogy, because it's wrapping up an arc and I really want to kind of take a little bit more time with that, but I'm still having a great time. I love Nona. I love all of her friends and the friendships. I think that a lot of the like action and trial scenes in this so far have been really cool. The wire one was like, what? And I just thought that that was really well done. And I'm very excited to learn more about this world and to see how the trilogy finishes off. So I think that that's it for now. I am crunch time on this. I have a day and a half left to finish it before the live show, so should be coming back to you guys tomorrow at the very latest Sunday, which is a couple of days from now, to wrap up my final thoughts on this book. I am going to be going to get my hair cut tomorrow, so the next time you guys see me, I very possibly may have shorter hair. It has gotten way too long. Like, it is past my bra strap in the back. So it's time to do something with it. It's been a long time since I've had a haircut. Am I going to do something drastic? Probably not, but I do want to get a decent amount cut off of it. So show you guys what that looks like tomorrow. But for now, I really need to go back to reading this book because I am on crunch time. I have just gotten home from work and I am finished with Holy Sister, so I figured we needed to chat. This is the third and final book in the Book of the Ancestor. I think I've already told you guys that. And I know that it's not, Ollie's very excited, he has a bone. I know that it's not most people's favorite in the series. By far, I think it is the least favorite of the series as a whole. I gave book 1 a 4-star initially and book 2 a 4-star initially. Both got 5 stars on repeat. I think that the first one is my favorite by just a little bit on this reread. The third book I still really enjoyed though. I can absolutely see why people wouldn't love it, but I think that I just love the characters so much and their relationships that even though the plot did feel a little bit rushed and the ending felt a little bit rushed, and I wish we'd had a little bit more depth and time. I still had a great time, and I think it's gonna get a 4, so it's not gonna end this vlog, but I do think that it's going to get a 4-star, which I desperately needed amongst all of the not so great reads that we've had throughout this vlog. So very happy with that. Like I said, the characters are what really sell this series for me. I think Nona is amazing, and she's just such a clear person. Like, you know exactly who Nona is, and I like her dynamic and the way that she has grown throughout this series. I like that we had played the long game. If you've read the series, you know what I'm talking about. I thought that that was extremely well done, and kind of moving those chess pieces around in a way that made a lot of sense, even looking back at the beginning of the series. This particular book does have a time, not jump per se, but we are flipping back and forth between 3 years prior, which was at the very end of the second book, and present day. I quite liked that. I liked being able to see what happened in the aftermath while also being able to see what's going on now. I do think that I wish that it had been a longer book. I think that the ending could have been a little bit more in depth and given us a little bit more information on how everything was working and not felt quite so rushed, because it is a big battle, but at the same time, think that it was a good ending. Like, I really liked the ending. I liked what was said, and kind of that very end epilogue part I thought was really well done and wrapped up the series very well as a whole. So I'm excited to read Book of the Ice, which is, I think, a prequel series to, I guess it's not technically a prequel series, but it is a series set in the same world as Book of the Ancestor, and I've heard that they tie in pretty well together, so I'm excited to read that one. I started it a few years ago and then realized that I didn't have to read Book of the Ancestor first, but I probably would get more out of it if I did, so I put it down. Now I'm excited to go back to it. So that is a 4-star finally. The vlog is not over, so once I get the next book in the mail, because it's on its way to me, I'll introduce it to you guys, and we will, fingers crossed, finally have a 5-star read. All right, so yet another book to pick once again for this 5-star vlog. I hope maybe this will be the last one, because I have a Hail Mary pick right here that was a pre-order that just came out earlier this week, and I've been sitting on it. Like, I've had a NetGalley copy of it and have the even audiobook of it, but I've been sitting on it holding out because I really think that this could be a 5-star, and I was like, okay, well, if we get to like 10 books and I have not found a 5-star yet, then this is the one that I am going to hopefully go with and get a 5-star. So let's open it up and let me show you guys what it is. So this is my pre-order of The Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. I am so excited to read this. I gave Mary a 4-star when I read it earlier this year. Thought it was absolutely incredible, and that his just atmosphere and style of writing is so unique and so engaging, and just did an incredible job with it. So I'm very excited to read The Nestlings. It is a lot shorter than Mary was, and so I've heard some of the pacing stuff was a little bit better. I am actually, full disclosure, about 35% into this book so far, because I had the audiobook copy of it. That's how I consumed Mary, so I wanted to listen to the audio for this as well. This is following a couple who has recently had a baby, but unfortunately during the birth, Anna had a complication, and she is now paralyzed from the waist down. She can like take care of her own basic needs, but her legs will no longer support her. In theory, she should be able to get movement back, but has not been able to do so. She has been just guilt-ridden and resentful of this child, and they decide to enter themselves into a housing lottery to try to get in a little bit better living situation in spite of everything that is going on, and they do win. And they get to move into one of New York City's most prestigious apartment buildings within like the area of Central Park. And so they do decide to move in, but everything is not as it seems within this apartment building, and things slowly start to unravel in their current situation. I'm really enjoying this so far. I think Nat Cassidy's writing is just so easy to consume. It just really lends itself to a claustrophobic and unsettledness, even if there's not a lot scary happening in here. And to be honest, there's not a lot happening in here, period. I just feel so unsettled, and I know something is coming. I know something crazy is gonna hit the fan here pretty soon. And so I'm just reading and watching these characters slowly start to descend and lose their minds, and it's just, I think that it's being done incredibly well so far. I do still think this has the potential to be a 5-star. It is a little bit slower than I was anticipating it being, just because of the length of the story. However, I think that that really lends itself to the atmosphere and the buildup of the story, so I'm not bored. It's just moving a little bit slower than I expected it to, but that's okay because I'm still really enjoying my time with it. I like the audiobook a lot. cannot wait to continue on with this today. And so far, I would recommend everything that I've read by Nat Cassidy, which is only 2 books, but either way. This has been a long vlog, but I am happy to report that we can now end it because Nestlings was a 5-star. I was holding out for this book to be a 5-star in case like I had nothing else, and it was great. It did just scrape a 5-star for me. It was a lower 5-star, but a 5-star is a 5-star, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think Nat Cassidy just does atmosphere so incredibly well, and I love the way that he builds up a story. You start at the beginning and things are kind of weird, unsettled, you keep going, and the crescendo just keeps on happening until bam! Everything is wild and unhinged and crazy and incredible. And I think he does a really good job of setting up wild, unhinged, and incredible without making it seem like it came out of left field and doesn't make any sense. And I love that about how he sets up stories. I also think that the writing style is very simplistic, but in a way that gives you just the creeps, and it is also well done. His imagery is great. I really enjoyed this story. I do think that the author's note at the end of this elevates it up even more because it just really puts the whole story into perspective, and I love that you can tell he puts a piece of himself into each story that he writes. I think that that is very clear in how well thought out that these stories are. This definitely has themes of motherhood and resentment of motherhood and caregivers and disabilities, as well as a very unique take on a certain horror trope, I guess is a good way to put it, that I really liked. I thought that that was extremely well done and very different than what I'm used to reading. I'm trying to be very vague about this because I don't want to spoil anything about it, because I think that that kind of surprise is what makes the story work so well. There are a lot of different themes coming in this book. It seems like it's doing a lot, but some way, somehow, they all mesh together and they do a great job. His characters are very realistic. I feel like I knew them and could see their slow descent into feeling like they're crazy versus actually becoming a little bit crazy versus just being so at a loss of how to handle the situation that they're losing their minds. And I think that the atmosphere and like the setting, I could tell that I was in New York. I was in this really creepy old building. I loved it. I thought it was extremely well done and would highly recommend both Mary and the Nestlings because I think that they both do what he's trying to achieve very well. Mary is still similar in like how it feels, but a little bit longer. This one is quite a bit shorter, so the pacing is a lot faster, but I cannot wait. I mean, Nat Cassidy is going to be an auto-buy author for me now. Hands down, had a great time with it. So we can finally end this vlog after how many books was it? 9, 10? Too many books, lots of books. So we can now end this vlog. Finally, I found a 5-star. Will I do this again? I don't know. We'll see how much I want to torture myself. Let me know down in the comments if you guessed how many books it was going to take me correctly to find a 5-star, and if you've read any of these, what you thought about them, that kind of thing. If you just want to let me know that you were here hanging out, then you can leave me a bird. Leave me a bird emoji. No one's gonna know why you're leaving me a bird, but leave me a bird emoji for the Nestlings. And I think that that is everything. As always, I hope you guys had fun with this vlog. I had a lot of fun filming it. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box down below. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.